Hello and welcome. I'm Jason Whitlock. Cowherd is off. Coming up on Speak for Yourself, I'll tell you how Michael Bennett is his own worst enemy, and Spurs head coach Greg Popovich is bullying Kawhi Leonard. But we start today in New England with me pretending to be the black Bobby Axelrod from my favorite TV show, Billions. My hedge fund is called Hacks Capital, and my big play for the 2018 season is shorting Bill Belichick's New England Patriots. That's right, the Belichick dynasty crashes in 2018. Now, the word crash is relative. The Patriots play in the AFC East against the Bills, Jets, and Dolphins, so there's only so far they can fall in 2018, but they're gonna fall. They'll back into the playoffs at 9-7 and exit on Wild Card weekend, and moving forward, you will never again see Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in the Super Bowl. Why? Why am I shorting the Patriots? What are the key indicators that foretell the demise of Belichick's Patriots? The latest indicators in yesterday's Boston Globe, where offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels basically revealed he's the head coach in waiting. McDaniels told the Globe that Belichick and owner Bob Kraft clarified his role, and that's why he double-crossed the Indianapolis Colts. McDaniels said, I wasn't 100% sure what the future was. I just hadn't had any clarity on that. So where did I fit in? Were there any plans? I just didn't have much clarity on what my role was here moving forward. Once I heard from Robert and Bill on that Tuesday, it just gave me the reason to pause and consider this whole situation. Clarity on his role? He's the offensive coordinator. Did Kraft and Belichick promise him he could be special teams coach too? No. They obviously promised McDaniels he could be the next head coach of the New England Patriots very soon, which means Belichick has a foot out the door, which means Belichick is no longer the single voice of authority in New England, which means things have changed drastically in New England. You hear the Patriots falling? I do. Nate Solder, Damian Amendola, Dion Lewis, Cameron Fleming, and Butler all caught helicopters out of Saigon. It's over. Belichick broke the circle of trust with his players when he threw away the Super Bowl by benching Malcolm Butler for no good reason. Belichick's ego trumped what was best for the team. His refusal to acknowledge his mistake worsens the air and makes it a cancer that will undermine his authority with the 2018 Patriots. Belichick is a dictator who relies on blind trust. Dictators don't name dictators in waiting. And the blind can now see exactly who Belichick is. He's flawed, he's human, he's a man drunk on his success. Bullying Tom Brady's personal trainer, Alex Guerrero, off the Patriots property is one thing. Benching the kid who won you a Super Bowl 49 because you wanted to show everyone one more time you're the boss of bosses, that's a bridge too far. Hack Capital is recommending you short the Patriots. We're forecasting a 9-7 regular season, an early exit, and Belichick stepping aside for the weasel in waiting. All right, we welcome in Danny Cannell and Mark Schlereth. Guys, you've heard my explanation on why the dynasty is falling. Tell me where I'm wrong.
I pegged you more for a Chuck Rhodes than a Bobby Axelrod as maybe you're the attorney for the Southern District of L.A. out here. That could be you. Is there an award that goes out to the person that predicts the Patriots dynasty will fall first? Because I feel like there is a race that goes out there. I am not buying what you're selling. If you are, I actually would buy. I would buy them low right now if you're saying I could get them there. As long as you have Brady and Belichick and they're intact, I know they're losing a lot of pieces, but we've seen this story before. They are not afraid to part ways with people. They're not afraid to make tough decisions within the franchise. It's the surest bet in all of sports outside of LeBron taking the Cavs to the finals. It's Brady and Belichick. I'm not jumping off yet.
Seen it before. We've seen him with a coach in waiting. We've seen him blow a Super Bowl with that Butler decision.
I think the biggest thing for me, it's the first time that I can remember in 18 years of him running this franchise where I thought his authority was circumvented last year. I thought the owner stepped on him, stepped over him, and essentially forced a Jimmy Garoppolo trade. Listen, I called a Niners game. I sat in the meeting with their coach and their general manager and said, hey, we tried to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo multiple times. We got basically told no by Mr. Belichick. And then all of a sudden one day we're just sitting there not trying to trade for him and the phone rings and it's Mr. Belichick. Hey, you still want him for a second rounder? Like, you think all of a sudden he changed his mind or he was forced to make that move? That's the first thing that bothers me about this. And the second thing is I've seen them move players before. That has happened. But you look at the last couple of years, Butler gone, Nate Solder gone, Amendola, Dion Lewis, Cameron Fleming, Chandler Jones, Jamie Collins. That was their best defensive player. LeGarrette Blount, he left, won another Super Bowl. So did Chris Long as his teammate. Jimmy Garoppolo gone, Jacoby Brissett gone. I mean, I look at the dearth of talent that the Patriots have currently constructed on their roster. Now, there's no team better at grabbing guys and developing guys. I'll give you that. But how long can you continue to lose piece after piece after piece after piece and at some point not have that affect you? And I get it. The division is a strong case that you make because that division stinks.
Yeah.
But eventually it's got to wear you down a little bit.
Off. You're saying the dynasty's done.
I still think.
I know.
I still think.
One?
Hey, listen. I still think they win that division. But yes, I think they have been weakened. It reminds me of Teddy KGB, right? In the movie Rounders, they keep check, and eventually your whole stat goes over, right?
And listen, again, we've seen them lose talent.
Yeah.
But what we've never seen them lose is faith in Belichick. And again, we talked about this yesterday on the show. I feel like when Bob Kraft had to come out and make his statement about, hey, he's like a manager, we let him take risks. This one clearly didn't work, but I still have faith in Bill Belichick. He understands that his players, including his most important player, Tom Brady, is questioning Belichick. We've never seen that before. Everybody, no matter what decision, get rid of Ty Law, Rodney Harrison, Richard Seymour, anybody, we're all good. In Belichick we trust. That Malcolm Butler thing destroyed, I thought, his most valuable weapon. People trusted him blindly. They don't anymore. You couple that with the talent drain, I think you got a problem.
I think we're overblowing this because I remember sitting here at this desk. You were out. I was filling in for your spot, and Colin was talking about the downfall as well, saying, "Oh, this could implode." The Guerrero was going to be an issue. This was going to be a soap opera that would, could potentially bring this team down. I said, just hold on a second, because I think a lot of this drama is a product of the very current environment. Even in the last 10 years, like as this dynasty has progressed, you've seen more leaks, more rumors, more stories kind of unveiling behind the curtain. I think this is just the first time we're getting so much of it, but I think it's been going on because I don't think anybody, I think it's a rare player that loves playing for Bill Belichick. Like, it is hard. It is hard work. You've seen guys like Chris Long move on and say how much more fun it was winning a Super Bowl with the Eagles than it was with the Patriots. I think Belichick doesn't care about if the guys like him or not. I think he wants to care if they produce for him and if they buy into what he's doing. And I think the Malcolm Butler benching I think he did get cute. I think he did get overconfident and thought, hey, I'm this defensive mastermind. It doesn't matter. I can make some tweaks. I thought it burned him, but I don't think it was the difference in the game.
Fear is interesting. And when you rule through fear, you can still get a lot of production from your players. But when all of a sudden you're not so afraid anymore because the owner, which always gave you the ultimate authority to do whatever the hell you wanted, all of a sudden looks like he got involved and made some moves on your behalf and circumvented that authority. Now all of a sudden, maybe I'm not so afraid. Maybe the Bill Belichick-Tom Brady relationship isn't what it once was with the Alex Guerrero stuff. So all of a sudden, when the fear is removed and you start questioning as a player like that authority, and you start going, really, you know what? It's already happened once. Those are the things to me that will weaken a franchise.
I think the point you made at the beginning of this about Brady and Belichick as it relates to Garoppolo, because, the Brady thing, basically a virtually undrafted guy, a story from out of nowhere, has all this success with Belichick, but then reaches a point where he's delivered all this for Belichick, and then in his mind Bill Belichick was ready to go with Garoppolo. And I think that opened Tom's eyes, and I think it gave Giselle and others, Guerrero and others, more of a voice to start pecking at Belichick and like, dude, you're all in on this guy. You're still playing at an MVP level, and he wanted to go a different route at quarterback. He wanted to treat you no different than Richard Seymour and anybody else. And I think Tom's argument was, I'm good with that. That's who Bill Belichick is. And then the Super Bowl happened, and he can't wrap his mind around the Butler decision. And again, it's not because that if they
Brady's upset about Malcolm Butler.
Oh, no question about it. Because if you make every sacrifice for Bill Belichick and that team, and you're all in the way Tom versus Time showed you, and everything is about what's best for the team, and then everybody else in that locker room was like, hey, man, okay, you wanted to bench him for a short time, but we never played him, and we gave up 41 points, and the guy in Super Bowl 49 made the game-deciding play. This makes no sense, and you can no longer preach everything is about the team because now Brady knows, no, it's about your ego. And again, that's not wipes out whatever all Bill Belichick has accomplished for 18, 19 years, but people change. People get drunk on success.
Maybe you should have benched Malcolm Butler earlier because that was the same team that got torched by Kansas City in Week 1 and had problems all season long. The defense was probably the worst defense that the Patriots have had that's taken them to a Super Bowl. So I don't think one player made that much of a difference. The other thing, don't bring Giselle into this because Giselle's like Adrian with Rocky. Like she's trying to get Tom Brady to retire. Like she's going to do that every single opportunity she can. Probably the thing that concerns me most is the loss of Nate Solder. Because if we've seen Brady, the game against the Broncos, when he got wrecked in that game, you saw a very human, pedestrian Tom Brady. They better make sure that offensive line is straight. That's the most pressing out of all the drama.
Cameron Fleming is their starting right tackle. They lost both their tackles. And by the way, they didn't protect worth a darn this last year. Brady got hit a boatload this last year. So they've got some issues there, too.
All right, welcome back. Mark Schlereth and Danny Cannell are back. Let's move to the Rams, who keep making big moves, reportedly signing Ndamukong Suh to a one-year, $14 million contract. Suh is just the latest defensive star with a problematic past that the Rams have signed this offseason, joining a pair of very talented, very erratic corners in Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib. All right, listen, I don't mind taking a pot shot at Sean McVay. He's a kid. He deserves it. This is arrogance. This is your first year as a head coach, having all this success and being toast to the league, and you think it's easy. Oh, bring anybody here. I can coach them. Peters, Talib, Ndamukong Suh. Oh, Odell Beckham Jr. is on the trade block. Let's trade for him too. I'm Sean McVay. I've reinvented coaching. I can take on every problem child in the league. Just throw me talent, and I'll make it work. There's a quote today that he said, no trade is off the table as long as it's an upgrade in talent. And what I don't hear one ounce of concern for is chemistry. And chemistry being a big part of a team. And so he believes he can make the chemistry because he's the head coach and he's the smartest guy in the room, and I got Wade Phillips backing me up. So Ray Caruth, OJ Simpson, you guys come play here too. I can take it all on. I'm Sean McVay. This is arrogance.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about that? I always said this when I was playing, is you think the egos are big in the locker room? Walk upstairs to the coaches' offices, right? There's not one coach doesn't believe under my expert tutelage I can take this guy and I can change him and I can make him the player that he needs to be because the talent is what gets us, it makes us wide-eyed. And I will tell you this about talent. It's character that drives talent towards greatness. It's never the opposite. Talent doesn't drive character. Character drives talent. And if you don't have the proper character, I don't care how much talent you have. Now, every team needs a few touch guys. You got to have a few crazies, right? I mean, it's just the way it is because those guys can play. But there's a point of diminishing returns. When you put too many of those guys in that cauldron, that thing bubbles over and becomes a real mess for everybody. And then you can't clean it up. So that would be my biggest concern. How many guys can you put on your roster that have those issues? Right now on defense, you got 3 guys that you're going to have to manage and manage well. And, can you do it? I don't know that you can do it, but I know one thing about coaches. They believe you give me the talent, man, I can make anybody work in my system.
I love these moves. I think they're a calculated risk from the Rams. I think they're getting incredible talent. I think the Sue deal makes a ton of sense because you're going to get a player who, to me, I don't care about all the issues when he's kicking guys and he's grabbing quarterbacks by the throat. I mean, your boy over here wasn't a choir boy when he was playing, all right? Like Stink had a reputation of his own. I think you get a player who's going to want to prove himself. He's going to play harder than he, because to me, he quit on the Miami Dolphins.
No,
but this is a one-year deal, though.
About the Dolphins.
But he got big guaranteed money with the Dolphins and longer-term guarantees. For a one-year deal, I think he's going to go out there and he's going to play hard. Aqib Talib, he wanted to go play for Wade Phillips. He said, 2 teams I'll go to. So I feel like pretty confident that Wade Phillips will be able to rein him in. Marcus Peters, the one guy I'm kind of like, well, what's going on? Like, I don't know. Like, you had some serious issues, a little bit goofy. You know, he's throwing flags, he's getting kicked out of games. Maybe it was just a bad fit with Andy Reid in Kansas City. I think what they did is they looked around the NFC. They looked at getting bounced in the first round. They looked in their division, and they saw, hey, we got to face Russell Wilson, Jimmy Garoppolo, and, you know, whatever the Arizona's going to do. But I think they said, we've got to get better. And I think these are absolutely upgrades for the Rams.
There's different ways to get better. You can develop the guys on your current roster. You can take care of your most productive player, Aaron Donald, who still doesn't have a contract and isn't happy, and now you've given $14 million. I know it's just for 1 year to Ndamukong Suh. This reminds me, Mark, and I don't know if you remember the 1998 Kansas City Chiefs. In '97, they went 13-3. Y'all took them out of the playoffs, and I think they came back the next and they signed Chester McGlockton and the Ndamukong Suh of that generation. And I was just convinced, oh, my God, they've added Chester McGlockton. This Chiefs team's going 16-0. They can't be scored on. They got Derek Thomas. They got Wayne Simmons. They got James Hasty. They got all these great players. Hasty, and maybe it was Dale Carter, the other corner. They had this just incredible team. Went 7-9, and Marty Schottenheimer got fired and humbled because Chester McGlockton set a tone. He took plays off. He was undisciplined. He didn't care about the scheme. It was a poison set off in the team. Ndamukong Suh, I just don't see the track record, and you already got Aaron Donald. Give Aaron Donald the money, and he produced for him and whatever you gave. He produced for 2 positions. I just think it's a mistake.
Yeah, there's no question that there is a boatload of talent here. And if you can manage that talent, if Ndamukong Suh does what you said, the problem.
What do you think?
I think Ndamukong Suh can flat out play. I think he plays undisciplined football. And part of that could be, hey, I got a lot of money and I got to prove it, or I got a lot of money and I don't have anything to prove, you know, whatever the case may be. But when you look at him, you know, he'll be supposed to be in the B gap. He'll be pushed out beyond the C gap and create huge running lanes. The thing is for him is if he does not lead the league in sacks from the interior, then there's something wrong, because he is going to get singled. And one thing Wade Phillips will do, does a great job of picking one dude and say, go get we're going to attack this dude. Aaron Donald, you know as well as I do, Aaron Donald's going to get double teamed every single play because I think he's the best player in the National Football League. And so Suh should be incredibly productive, and if he's not, then that's on him.
I think it is going to be boom or bust.
He'll be hurt and he'll miss at least 6 games. All right, welcome back to the show. Mark Schlereth and Danny Cannell are back. Let's move to Michael Bennett, who turned himself in to Houston police yesterday after being charged with a felony for allegedly shoving and injuring a 66-year-old paraplegic woman after the Super Bowl in 2017. Bennett is potentially facing up to 10 years in prison, though his lawyer says Bennett, quote, flat out didn't do it. All right, I got mixed emotions on this because, well, I don't like Michael Bennett, but I think he's being unfairly treated here. I think this is 1,000% payback for lying on the Las Vegas police, that video coming out, and the NFL not doing anything after it was pretty clear Michael Bennett was lying and had treated the police in Las Vegas unfairly. And so I think this is payback by law enforcement, and I think it's unfair.
Well, you know what? I think you're right that it is payback. I mean, you know, OJ went to get his memorabilia back and got 9 years, right? You think that was about getting his memorabilia back? That would have been, that would have been parole for anybody else, right?
Yep.
A slap on the wrist. So I don't think there's any question. Is it fair? No, it's not fair. But I don't think there's any question that this is law enforcement going after a guy that they don't like.
They better have video. I mean, it is the Super Bowl. It was only a year ago. You know they have cameras everywhere, because if the Houston Police Department does not have video, I think it's an incredibly bad look for them, and it looks incredibly vindictive, as you've talked about. So I would tend to agree with you. I think he did get a raw deal here.
But I don't know if they really care about having video, honestly, because, again, just the fact that the guy had to fly into Houston, be booked and charged, they've taken a pound of flesh from him. He's going to have to lawyer up. It's going to cost him some money. And so I think they're getting their pound of flesh and sending a message to Michael Bennett and And again, I thought what Michael Bennett did to the Las Vegas police, 1,000% irresponsible. I thought the NFL's reaction, particularly the Seattle Seahawks and Pete Carroll, at the time, I just thought it was ridiculous. Pete Carroll issued a statement, and I think this has made it worse for Michael Bennett. But Michael Bennett unfortunately experienced a horrendous incident on August 27th. We are thankful he is safe, and we take this opportunity to say that we stand in support of him and anyone else facing inequalities, blah, 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 and so on and so forth.
So you still feel bad for him for this?
Yes, because again, I don't like Michael Bennett, but I think the NFL and Pete Carroll by taking this position made things worse for Michael Bennett. I think law enforcement around the country is like, okay, we're going to wait in the cut. We're going to get our opportunity to get back at Michael Bennett because Pete Carroll and all the media caped up for him, and we've treated Michael Bennett like he's Nelson Mandela, and he's not. Again, as I've said, he's a bit of a poser. But to some, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, all this stuff, all those apologies or all those, the statement by the Seahawks and the statement came out before the video was shown that it really, it wasn't what it was made out to be by Michael Bennett. And then they got to the point where they couldn't retract that. You said, I hope they have video. Why? It didn't matter when the police turned out the video and said, hey, look, we didn't do anything wrong here. And what he said was, his version of the truth, but it wasn't close to being what happened. And so I tend to agree with you. This feels vindictive to me, but and it's not right. But it's like you said, they're getting their pound of flesh.
I think it's probably repercussions for what he did. And if you made your bed, now you have to sleep in it. Now you have to deal with it. And he never came out and apologized at Las Vegas, did he?
No.
Did he have any discipline faced from the NFL? No. Like I'm looking at it, and if I'm a police department, it was a major storyline, and it made the Las Vegas police department look really bad. And it wouldn't surprise me at all in this brotherhood of police departments that they say, you know what, we've got something, we can make him look worse.
I'll say this, though. I'll add this last disclaimer. I only have so much sympathy for Michael Bennett because I think the guy's such a poser. I think this is actually working for him a little bit. And it's going to cost him money. It's embarrassing. But you guys ever heard of the rapper Meek Mill?
Yeah.
Meek Mill,
Philly's guy.
Yeah, he's from Philadelphia. Not much of a rapper. Embarrassed by Drake in a rap battle. And then he kept getting arrested for parole violations. And he's become this great cause celeb. Everybody now, free Meek Mill. Everybody loves, even though he can't rap and Drake embarrassed him, now everybody loves Meek Mill because he's locked up somewhat unfairly on these probation violations. Same thing happening here for Michael Bennett. He's become this victim now, being treated unfairly. It works for his brand, so I'm only going to throw so much pity Mike Bennett's way. Michael Bennett. All right, to the NFL draft, where the argument over Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen just took an interesting turn, with Rosen's old coach, Jim Morris, saying that the Browns should actually take Darnold first overall, adding that the city of Cleveland will love the former USC standout. This blew my mind. I know Jim Mora a little bit. I like Jim Mora a little bit. I can't believe he's Josh Rosen's coach and sitting on television basically saying, well, the Cleveland teammates will love Sam Darnold. Cleveland fans, he's gritty. He's got this personality that'll fit for Cleveland. He's championing the other USC's quarterback to be the #1 overall pick. This is a shot at Josh Rosen, in my opinion.
This is truth coming from Jim Mora. He is speaking the truth about this situation. I think Sam Darnold is the better prospect. I think he's a more likable quarterback. I think Josh Rosen is the next Jay Cutler or Jeff George.
Oh,
he absolutely is. But I think he's off base because I wish he would have just come out and said that, because trying to say that Sam Darnold fits in Cleveland, I mean, he grew up 20 minutes from Josh Rosen. They're both Southern Cal kids. I mean, Sam Darnold's a surfer. How's that going to play in Cleveland? I'm not so sure. But I think it's refreshing because he's able to be honest, because so many times you have coaches that have to
He's campaigning for a TV job.
Because he's not the coach at UCLA anymore.
Campaigning for a TV job.
But in opinion, you have to be opinionated. But I think you give honest opinions. And I think he's giving you the truth about Josh Rosen, which is very revealing to me that his own coach wouldn't go to bat for him when there was nothing at stake. Because if he was still the coach at UCLA, I bet this answer is switched because of the players on the team and recruits that he has to bring in there.
Let me ask you this. Could it be that he's trying to protect Josh Rosen from going to a bad situation? I mean, my quarterback is going, hey, they were 0-16 last year. They won one game in 2 seasons, and that's a place quarterbacks go to die? Like, do I want to keep my guy out of that situation? Yeah, take the other guy. He's your guy. Take him. Give Rosen an opportunity to go somewhere else where he can be successful.
Not a bad theory, but that's not what's happening here, Stink. Listen, guys like Danny Cannell don't like Josh Rosen. They think he is a social justice warrior. But I actually
That's not why I don't like him. I don't think he's a guy that wants to win at all costs, that's a great teammate.
Oh, my
that loves
God,
the game
he's
of football.
played through all sorts of injuries.
He's missed a lot of games due to injuries, too.
Did you see the game at the beginning of the year with the incredible comeback?
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M.
He got lit up.
All the hits that he took.
He did.
This guy is tough. His teammates, that's why I'm blown away by Moore's comments. I think Josh Rosen's teammates love him. I think part of his social justice warrior message is in protection of the athletes and the guys that he feels are exploited in college sports. I just don't think he has a problem getting along with his teammates. He's like an SJW that I actually kind of like, Danny. I think what Moore has done here is unfair. It's not what I would want. A coach that I played for.
I'd be ticked off. If I'm Josh Rosen, I'm not happy with Jim Mora.
Could it be not so much about Josh Rosen, but about his vitriol towards UCLA?
Maybe.
Could it just be like, I'm going to stick it to UCLA because I got fired from the job that I just had?
I guess, but Josh Rosen is collateral damage. I like Rosen. He should go to Cleveland. Coming up.
Jay Cutler.
All right, welcome back. We're joined now by NBA champion Steven Jackson and the founder of the Big Lead, Jason McIntyre. Let's move to the NBA, where the conflict between Kawhi Leonard and the Spurs remains unresolved. Reportedly, Kawhi will not play tonight against the Wizards and remains day-to-day after a week in which veteran teammates like Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili didn't shy away from openly questioning the timeline for Kawhi's return. We talked about this yesterday and last week, even a little bit into it. I'm someone who thinks Greg Popovich is orchestrating absolutely all of this, that he is bullying Kawhi Leonard and using veteran players like Tony Parker and Manu and anybody else he can get his hands on to bully Kawhi Leonard. I find this hypocritical because Pop is celebrated by the media. There's a long receiving line to kiss Pop's butt. And oh my God, he can't stand Donald Trump. He's the greatest thing in the world. Mm-hmm. Well, here he is being a bully. And to me, messing with a guy's money, Kawhi Leonard, whose future's on the line, I think Pop's being unfair. I believe, and as bad as Tony, and I've heard you shred Tony Parker and others, I blame Pop most.
Well, you're right. Nothing goes on in that organization without Pop knowing. Any meeting that Tony or Ginobili decide to have, Pop put the battery in their back. No question. It definitely came from up top. But the biggest thing is, with Kawhi, this is the first time that Pop has a superstar that he can't control. Yeah. This is the first time that the superstar doesn't march to his beat. He's always had a great relationship with Tim, Tony, and Ginobili. I think this is where it stops. To have these guys low-cut Kawhi in the media, something that's never been done about the Spurs. This is supposed to be the class act organization. Nothing comes out from there. Everything's peaches and cream. No, it's not, okay? And this shows you they are human. I've talked to several people who agree with me when I talk about Tony being selfish, because they have their own situations where they've seen him being selfish. And when I tell people all the time about the game in 14 against OKC, I said, you know what, don't take my word for it. Just watch it. He really looked me off. People look at the game and they hear Reggie Miller and the other announcers say about 6 or 7 times, Steven Jackson was open, Tony Parker missed him. Then they call me back, well, you were right, you wasn't hating. So a lot of people are upset because we're talking about their Spurs. They don't hear this stuff. Well, it's the truth. Kawhi is not going to be controlled or manipulated by Pop or none of these players, and this is the first time the Spurs have dealt with that, and it's just new to everybody.
You know, when you said bullying, I was like, Whitlock, that seems a bit strong, but hearing Steven talk, I'm almost wondering if the end game here for Popovich is, you know what? Tim Duncan, when he was a superstar, he took less money so we could pay Manu, we could pay Parker, and it worked. We kept the band together. Kawhi, you know, we're gonna bully you now, and then we're gonna not offer you the Supermax so we can keep the other superstars in play. I wonder, Steven, you spent time in that organization. Is that something the Spurs would actually try with Kawhi? We can't control this guy. He can do his hairstyle with the braids and out of character for us. But maybe if we got him to take less money to keep a championship contender, he would do that.
I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm not a superstar. I'm not Ginobili. I'm not Tim Duncan. I wasn't making their money. I hit a lot of big shots in 03 to win that championship, almost all of them. And at the end of that year, they tried to offer me Bruce Bowen contract of 3 years, $9 million. I wasn't taking that. I knew I deserved a six-year deal. So you know what I did? I said, I'm not letting y'all control me. I went to Atlanta, proved myself, top 15 in scoring, got my deal the year after that. So they will try that. They have a bunch of guys that take pay cuts. And when you have a guy like Tim Duncan, probably the best power forward of all, taking pay cuts, how can you not talk to the other players the same way?
And you love to reference the Patriots. You know what the Patriots did with Tom Brady. Tom, take a little less. Hey, Gronkowski, we're going to give you an incentive-laden contract. I don't know. The more you talk about the Spurs, I start thinking this is an organization maybe that's not as great as they appear to be on the outside.
What I hear and think about is they let you go or wouldn't sign you one year where if they had, they would have beaten, they were one Steven Jackson away from beating Miami for a championship. And so when things don't go Popovich's way, he will throw away a championship and a title to do what he thinks right.
And sometimes it seems stubborn, you know. Pop is very smart. Now, let's not get away from him being a great coach and he's smart. By him putting me in a situation to ask me to say other players was better than me before he cut me a couple months or somewhere around the time before the playoffs, he knew my response. Pop knows me better than anybody. He knew I wasn't going to say that. So he knew my response, and he had somebody coming in before he even asked me that. He knew what was going on. Pop is a smart guy. I guarantee you everything that's going on with Kawhi is a plot to either get him on the court or to try to force him to do something that he doesn't want to do. And I love the fact that Kawhi is standing his ground, because I guarantee you, come contract time, if that first offer is not Supermax to Kawhi with what the other pieces they have there, he's out of there, and I don't blame him.
To another injured star, Isaiah Thomas, who has left the Lakers to evaluate treatment options for his injured, lingering hip injury. Thomas spent most of last year playing through the injury on the advice of the Celtics medical staff. But after the season, Danny Ainge cited the injury as one of the reasons Boston traded him to Cleveland, where he spent the better part of this season rehabbing before being traded to Los Angeles. Clearly, IT is yet to recover. Reason I wanted to do these stories together because I think there's perfect synergy. The Boston Celtics ruined Isaiah Thomas's career. He's never going to get that money that he thought he was going to get as a potential max player. He played in Boston with an injured hip instead of sitting out and taking care of his body, and his career will never be the same. He's been kicked out of Cleveland. Soon he'll be kicked out of LA, and he'll be looking for some sort of deal that ain't gonna look nowhere close to $20 million per. The Celtics ruined this guy's career, and this again that's not the conversation I wanna have, but this is why Kawhi needs to control his situation.
This is the first time in the NBA where these players are finally getting it. These owners are not loyal to nothing but their paycheck. They're not loyal to you. You know, I don't know how they don't understand that. Like, You have to make the best. You have to make the best decisions for you. You can't rely on the team trainers. Yeah, they're paid to do a job, but if you have a situation where you feel like you're not 100% healthy and you want to go get a second opinion, you should. I mean, it's only right. You have that right. And for him to be in a situation where he feel like the trainers didn't do a job, that cost him a lot of money. This game is how we feed our kids. This is how we eat. This is how we take care of our families. So I'm glad we finally at a stage where players are standing up, understanding their worth, understanding these teams are not loyal, and standing up for themselves. And you got to credit that to LeBron, because he's the main reason guys are standing up and able to speak up, because he was the first one to do it.
Okay, I'm going to be out of pocket here a little bit, but who built Isaiah Thomas? Who made him a third-team All-NBA guy last year?
Isaiah Thomas.
Isaiah
Oh,
Thomas.
please,
do not
guys,
do that.
come
Do
on.
not do
Wait
that.
a minute.
Isaiah,
Time out. We know what Isaiah Thomas was in Phoenix and Sacramento. A nice piece. A guy who played with a chip on his shoulder, was a late second-round pick, and, gave him a good 17, 18 a game off the bench, or even started a little bit on two bad teams. He goes to Boston and becomes a top-5 MVP candidate in the Brad Stevens system. We saw it also with the kid Jay Crowder. He made him into a really nice player. And what happened with him in Cleveland? Nothing. He became a non-entity. Let's give Brad Stevens some credit for building Isaiah Thomas. 8 games, by the way, before he left that Cleveland series. 8 games prior. He had 53 against the Wizards. 53 points on a bum hip. So, I can't speak specifically to the injury, but I can say I think we're killing Boston a little bit hard here.
Well, Brad
Stevens
Stevens
a little harsh.
Brad Stevens is a great coach, but Brad Stevens wasn't, like Rick Ross say, boy, you wasn't with me shooting in the gym. Brad Stevens wasn't with Isaiah all those days he decided to work, all those days when he woke up thinking, man, I'm short, I'll never make it. Let me go put in this extra work. Brad Stevens wasn't there. Isaiah got himself to this point. Now, if the Celtics want any credit, they can give some credit for messing up his money.
So you're not giving Boston any credit for putting Isaiah Thomas in a position to succeed like nobody had before. He averaged 27 a game last year, guys.
Well,
that was unbelievable.
Yeah, he had a great year. And you got, any opportunity to get, you got to be thankful for it. No question. But at the same time, he went out there and worked, and he played those games and earned those points. If he want to blame anything on them, he can blame his injury, because only he knows how his body was taken care of and the advice they gave him to go out and play on a bad hill.
Jason, my point is, like, when Brad Stevens is sitting around going, well, here's our strategy for the 2016-17 season. We're going to do what's best for Isaiah. No, they said we're going to do what's best for the Celtics, and it just so happened to work out it was best for Isaiah Thomas.
Right.
And Isaiah Thomas took advantage of that situation. But Brad Stevens wasn't sitting around going, hey, how can I make this 5'7" kid a top 5 MVP candidate?
Right.
And let me build a system around them. He plugged him into his system, and Isaiah Thomas took advantage of it, yes. But he also played on an injured hip and made all kinds of sacrifices because he thought, and I'm sure he was led to believe, oh, we're going to back the Brinks truck.
He said that.
They're going to take care of you.
They're going to back the Brinks truck. And what he didn't know was they was going to back it all the way up over him and ship him over to Cleveland.
That's fair. So then he goes to Cleveland, and he sits out after the surgery. And what happened? He came back with the ego, hey, man, I'm still the 27-point-a-game guy that I was last year. And he was the one saying, we need to practice in Cleveland. You're telling a LeBron team that's been to the finals, 4 years in a row in Cleveland, 3 or 4 years in a row? We got to practice. And calling out Kevin Love, some of this has to be on Isaiah Whitlock. Come on.
Yeah,
some of this has to be his ego telling him, man, I should be getting paid. Why am I not getting paid and causing problems in Cleveland?
You definitely got to go into Cleveland with a more humble attitude. You playing with the best player in the world. You can't go in there demanding nothing. Yeah. Go in there, fill yourself out, find your role, and be a star in your role. I think if anybody get a chance to play with LeBron, they're going to go in there and do what they need to do to stay on their team, because you have a chance to win the championship, and that's why you play the game.
All right, so why can't both things be true?
Both things can
why
be true.
can't
That's
Boston
the beauty of television.
have ruined him, and then he mishandled the Cleveland
Stevie,
situation?
you can't get him to downshift off ruined to maybe damaged a little bit?
Well,
ruined is brutal.
Well, they had a lot to do with it, but like we say, Isaiah didn't help it after that. Patting himself on the back, say, I deserve this, I deserve that. Like, he didn't help it, but at the same time, I think Boston did mess up his money.
And the reason why I'm so strong on this, if you had caught me on a different day, but it just connects to the Kawhi situation.
Right.
I'm looking, trust Popovich and the Spurs, and they got his best interest, and they're sending. Again, when Tony Parker and then these guys start speaking on another guy's injury and health, it's just offensive to me when so much money's on the line. It's stupid and offensive. All right, welcome back. Time for last call. Let's move to Johnny Manziel, who made another appearance in front of NFL scouts today, this time throwing at his alma mater, Texas A&M's Pro Day. Manziel appears to be doing all the right things in trying to mount an NFL comeback. I actually think, Jason, Manziel's a good role model for Colin Kaepernick. The things that he's doing are the type of things Kaepernick should be doing.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
a guy who took a team to the Super Bowl, who is a veteran quarterback, should be doing the same things that a guy who has 2 NFL wins? You know, Johnny Football has as many NFL victories as he does trips to rehab. 2. That's it. Whitlock, come on. In no way, shape, or form does Kaepernick need to do
There's
this.
a very popular saying, get in where you fit in. And so there was a time when Colin Kaepernick was a Super Bowl competing quarterback. Right. That time has passed. Now he's a guy that's on the outs in the NFL, and people are questioning how important football is.
But they're not questioning his skill, his love for the game. He just needs to display that he loves football, right?
And
not that he has skill. Johnny Football hasn't proven he's got the skill.
Let me tell you how you know you love the game. When you're willing to humble yourself and show up at a pro day.
A 30-year-old quarterback going to go to a pro day?
Yeah. And look, and Johnny Manziel also said, I'm willing to go to Canada.
Good, go to Canada.
I'm willing to go to the CFL. Hear these types of things out of Colin Kaepernick, and people's ears perk. Oh, go, this guy, football is what's most important.
Okay, so if Kaepernick called every team and said, hey, I'm putting on a private workout right now for 31 teams, or 32 teams.
Private workout.
You don't think that's going to cut it?
No, because he can't do a private. No one's showing up to that.
Oh, please.
Show up to, someone's pro day.
Oh, gee.
That's when he has a chance. All right, to LiAngelo Ball, who is officially declared for the NBA draft after a roller coaster year that saw him arrested for shoplifting in China, drop out of UCLA, then move to Lithuania, where he scored 72 points today against a Chinese group of 8th graders.
I was told it was a group of cab drivers he was playing, but, no. This guy's not going to sniff the G League. Have you watched the Facebook show at all of the Ball family? I know you've been watching.
I have not.
Okay. He is the least charismatic of all the Ball brothers. You got Lonzo, the one who's kind of cool and out there, LaMelo with the hair and laughing. LiAngelo kind of brings nothing to the table.
All right, so yeah, I jumped ahead a little bit. I set the over-under on how many G League games that he plays at 1, and I'm taking the under.
I would take the under. I would pound the under. What is that, a pay your mortgage?
Yeah,
is that
pay
one
your
of those
mortgage.
picks?
I'm taking the under. There's a better chance of him playing in that rec league you and Colvin play than him actually
Thursday,
playing
UCLA, baby.
that rec league, if they haven't
Danny
banned him from
Cannell's
there.
coming out. LiAngelo, come on, we'll take you, buddy.